Like the sun, radiating life to everyone. Now death is over, and I'm alive. Oh, I'm taking hold of this victory, and now I'm running in my destiny. For your glory, oh, I will go. Yeah! Your glory rises like the sun, radiating life to everyone. Now death is over, and I'm alive. I'm taking hold of this victory, and now I'm running in my destiny. For your glory, Lord, I will go. Let's go! Let's go! Come on, shake it! Let's go! Let the music play. It's time to celebrate, 'cause it's a pretty day. Let's go! We are so alive, and God is on our side. Let's go! Let our praises remind all the darkness of how great and how mighty our God is. For the battle belongs to the Lord and no one else. We are standing in holy defiance. We're declaring aloud in the silence that the battle belongs to the Lord and no one else, no one else. We'll sing hallelujah for all hell to hear. Shout out Hosanna above every fear. Strongholds will crumble like castles of sand. We are marching on. We're marching on. We're marching on. We're marching on. Your unstoppable kingdom advances as we take back the ground from the darkness. The battle belongs to the Lord and no one else. You're the banner we raise in the chaos. No, the gates of hell won't stand against us. The battle belongs to the Lord and no one else. No one else.
Everybody, I'm back. Welcome to part 2 of Sensitive Much. All right. So before I go any further, I have to ask you a deeply personal question, which you may answer in a deeply personal way inside your head. All right? So my question to you is, how much do you trust other people's judgment? You know, a scale of 0 to 10. 0 being, is that even a question? And 10 being, oh, I totally trust. I totally trust other people's judgment. Let's make it real personal for a second. Let's say you could gather the attention of like the masses for a moment. If you could do that, many people try, but if you could do that, and you could just totally survey them to decide what the value of your life is, would you be willing to submit to that judgment? What do you mean no? What are you talking about? No? I mean, what? You don't trust them? You don't trust, I mean, if you could just survey the masses and say, okay, what is the value of my life? And whatever you guys come up with, you know, good, bad, or ugly, I'll just submit myself to that verdict. I'll be fine with that. I mean, come on, if you get enough people, you're going to get the right answer, right? No? No? Wow. This is a rough crowd. You know, the real question is, do you trust people to judge you? I gotta say, I don't. I really have no interest in putting, that level of responsibility in the hands of other people. And it's not that I don't necessarily like people. I mean, I like a lot of people, not all the people, but I like a lot of people. I even love a lot of people. But the problem is I've seen people, and I've seen how they make judgments. And to be perfectly honest, there are a lot of people, probably all people, who think they understand more than what they actually know. I mean, they assume they have more information or all of the information that they need. Truth is, they really don't, And even when they have lots of information, enough information, truth is they don't always come up with the right calculations. Even if they could know everything there is to know, I don't think I would put my life's verdict in their hands, because honestly, sometimes they get 2 and 2 and they come up with 7. I'm like, what's going on in your head? I don't trust it. And then there's the fact that, honestly, most people really just don't care about me that much. Like, it's just not a personal decision for them. And I bet you've seen this too. People are very casual with how they hand out judgments. Well, I don't need all the information. It doesn't really even matter that much. I'm sure they are such and such type of a person. That's all I need. I read a news article. That's all I need to know. They're a terrible person, or they're a really great person. I saw their reel on Insta. It was amazing. That's a really beautiful person. That's all I need. You've seen it. You've seen how casual people are handing out verdicts about people. You've seen how quick they are to judge. You don't trust them either. You just told me, actually. I didn't expect you to say anything, honestly. I was expecting there to be like cricket, cricket, cricket. Like, oh, thoughtful question, Pastor James. No, you guys are like right on the pedal. Like, no, I don't trust anybody to judge me. Absolutely not. But here's the thing. It's ironic to me how little we trust people in reality, yet we weigh the opinions of other people in our lives so incredibly heavily. Does that make sense to you? I mean, why in the world would we look at people and say, I really don't trust people that much. I don't think their judgment's very good. I don't think their opinions are worth all of that much. And then we come around and we say, I am so concerned about what other people are thinking about me. Why would we do that? And if you listen to Jesus, and I do listen to Jesus a lot, I hope you do. Last week, Jesus basically said this: you shouldn't. You shouldn't. Did you hear me? I said you shouldn't. Why would we let the opinion of people we don't trust weigh so heavily on who we become, on how we mold and shape our lives? Why would we be so concerned with the approval or disapproval of other people if we don't even really trust them? Yet we do it. But Jesus says you shouldn't. And last week, we hit up a couple of things. Jesus taught some irrefutable laws about identity, and here was one of them. He says, your identity as a person isn't who you're from, it's who you become like. It's not who you like, it's who you become like. That's who you actually are. That's the source of your identity. And another thing that he says, if your identity is built around anyone or anything other than God, your identity is always under threat. Because those other things are all perishable. They're easy to attack. They're easy to cut down. I can cut you down if your identity is built on being a great whatever. I am a great dad, or I am a great soldier. I'm a great American. I'm a great citizen. I'm a great mom. I'm a great this, that, and the other thing. All I've got to do is just find a little spot where you're not. Say, look at that. What, did you consider that? Well, yeah, you're a very desirable person. Yeah, but last week you came to church in sweats and you look kind of frumpy. I mean, what's up with that? It really takes nothing, and then all of a sudden your world's in like a tailspin. Oh, maybe I'm really not who I think I am. Oh no. So Jesus teaches these irrefutable laws, and then you're kind of left wondering, well, how do you... I want to be bulletproof like you, Jesus. I really do, but how do you do that? How do you sort through all of the influences that are out there in your life, calling at you this way, calling at you that way? If you're going to be a great mom, you got to do X, Y, and Z. But if you're going to be a great mom, you got to do all these things I said over here. But if you're going to be a great mom, then you should probably show up, and every week's a fashion show. If your kids are ever here and they're not wearing Gucci, it's like, what? How do you make sense of all of that? And what's beautiful in this passage we're going to hit is Jesus very clearly demonstrates what it is like to have a confident identity built in something that's not perishable. And I'm going to take you right where we left off. If you remember last week, Jesus calls these guys out on their true identity. He says, you guys may think you're like such and such, and you may respect and admire the Father God, but the truth is you're not like him. And this hero of the faith, Abraham, that they resorted to, they said, look, you're not actually like him. I know you want to be like him, but you're not. And so I am here to help you see some of these things and to re-educate your life and transform your life. And of course, they're like, this goes over like, there's a phrase I don't use, but it's about church, Yeah, she knows what it is. And she's laughing, which is great. But go look it up on Google. So this is where we left off. These guys, all of a sudden, they go from courteous and polite and respectful argument to, we're just going to go to name calling, just like that. This is what they say, aren't we right in saying that you're a Samaritan and demon-possessed? Isn't that true, that you're only half of the right ethnicity anyway, and you're just purely evil right now? Wouldn't you say that's about right? Wow. Just like Jesus says, when your identity is threatened, the real you pops out to defend itself. And that's exactly what happens. And this is Jesus' answer, and this is what you really want to pay attention to this morning. First off, Jesus says what? He says, no, I'm not possessed by a demon. Just matter of fact, no, that's actually not what's going on here. And he says, actually, no, I honor my Father. I honor my Father. So my identity is built around mirroring my Father in heaven, God. I've devoted every area of my life, all aspects, to mirroring what He is like before all of you. And this is great, what He says next. John 8:50, He says, I'm not seeking glory for myself. Let that hit you for a second. I'm not seeking glory for myself. In other words, I don't need you to think that I'm good. I'm okay with that. I really have no inner need for you to believe what's true about me. I don't have to have that happen. Don't need it. I don't need you to validate me. I don't need you to affirm me. I'm fine either way. I'm not looking for you to see me to be good. I don't need it. And he goes on. And before I go on with what he says next, you're probably thinking, how do you pull that off? I mean, who in the world have you ever met that was like that? They're just fine if people think they're trashy. They're just fine if people don't respect them. They're good. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm bulletproof. I'm Teflon. How many people do you know like that? And how much would you actually like to be like that? This is what he says next. He says, but, this is his secret, but there is one who seeks it, and he is the judge. There is one who seeks my glory, and he also happens to be the judge. No, I don't have to worry about what people think about me. I don't have to mirror my life around what other people might think or might do or might say, or, I don't have to do I'm not carrying all of that stuff that people are so often laboring under every step of their life. See, I just mirror my life after God, and God just handles whatever needs handling. If somebody needs to be persuaded that I'm a good guy, that's on him. He'll do that. He'll make sure that happens. If somebody needs to see that what I'm speaking is actually the truth and that I'm not a liar, well then he'll handle that. I don't have to carry that around with me all the time, wondering every step, what will they say if I just do it like this, or if I misstep, or they think I'm poor, or if they think, I'm not responsible on accident, or whatever. I don't carry that. And so many of us are actually carrying that. And what I want you to see in just a little bit is you don't have to. I want you to see why. This is why. Because there is one who seeks it, and he's the judge. Were you ever in school and you happened to be in a class that was the same year that one of the teacher's kids was actually in their class? Did that ever, maybe big city, you don't know what I'm talking about. But if you're from Jefferson County somewhere, that could have happened maybe. I don't know, Jason, do they try and avoid that? They probably do. But I know that it sometimes happened. Used to happen a lot in very, very small schools because the teacher has kids. Where are the teacher's kids going to go to school? Right? Only so many teachers. And what I want you to imagine here for a second is that we're all in the same class together, and one of the kids, it's their dad who's the science teacher, and it's science project time. Who's going to win? Who's taking home first prize this year? This kid. That kid is going to get first prize. Why? Favoritism, right? That's what everybody says. Well, like he's gonna give his own kid third place, right? No, I don't think so. We've all been around the loop a few times. We know how this works, but that's not really it. Not really. I mean, you'd have to be a fool to be the teacher and to just, I'm just gonna, just nudge him over for the win. I'm like, no, you're not gonna do that. Everybody's gonna see it. Everybody's gonna know. But something pretty magical happens when your dad is also the person who's going to be grading the exams. They're going to make sure, beyond any reasonable doubt, that you know exactly what to do every step of the way, aren't they? Seems a little unfair, but they're getting personalized coaching every single night of the school year on how to get an amazing grade on this project, how to get an amazing grade of this test. Jesus says, hey, guess what? My dad is also the judge at the end. That's how I'm this confident. Because I know exactly what I'm going to meet when this is over. There's going to be somebody on the other side who's waiting there saying, well done. Good and faithful servant. You did it the way I taught you. Welcome to the afterlife, my friend. Welcome to the afterlife, my friend. See, when the two are the same, it makes the difference. When you take your coaching from the one who's going to be the judge at the end, You don't have to be sweating the whole time, wondering, oh, I wonder if I did life okay. I wonder if I forgot this huge area. Oh, man, how did I get to the end of life and just really just messed up this relationship? I had no idea that that was coming. Like, that's not going to happen if you choose to accept, to model your life after the one who's also the judge. That's a bulletproof identity right there. That's 100% certainty. Who's going to judge me? I know. I'll model my life after that guy. That's a fantastic idea. Yeah. And here's what happens. When you do that, when you know that, you can leave behind all of the carrying of all of the anxiety and the worrying and all of the, pulling your hair out about, oh my gosh, what's so-and-so going to think? Or this really doesn't line up with what they're saying on media. And, these other famous people are all saying that what I do all the time is actually just reprehensible. I can't believe it. Oh my gosh, and people are going to know, and they're going to think I'm going to be reprehensible. And you've got an avenue to leave that behind when you're certain that the judge is your coach. And what's hard, though, is that as much as that is true, you still have all of those voices out there. You know what I'm talking about, don't you? All those voices out there, they're still competing for your permission to let them judge you. It's amazing. There are so many voices out there that you can listen to. Some of you have, I'm telling you, you have voices from people that are demanding that they can judge you. They aren't even alive anymore. They're still judging you. Do you know what I'm talking about? There are people in this room, people watching, those people have since passed away. And you're still nervous, like, oh, what would they think? What are they going to think if I choose this path rather than this path? I mean, that's the reality. You have people in your lives, some of them very good people. Some of them people that Jesus even used to help shape you and get you to where you are today in faith. But the truth is, none of those voices, even those voices, are flawed voices. And what Jesus said last week was that listening to any other voices, the source of your identity, is actually putting you at risk. They may be a great boss, they may be a great mom or dad, they may be a great, example in the community, but even then, if you form your identity to be a perfect reflection of a person rather than the actual judge, you are at risk. Some of those voices are just noisy voices. Not that you particularly know them or respect them, but it's just part of the noise of the background of everything we have going on around us. You got all those influencers out there. Wow, I'm so glad there are so many influencers. Someday when I grow up, I want to be an influencer. Sounds like a really great job. You just talk and people listen and start thinking about what you do. Well, yeah, that sounds good, But the truth is you don't even know those people. And often we're distracted and we're tempted to take the rambling noise of that is this cloud of supposedly what everyone thinks. And we're supposed to take that into account when we shape our lives too. Wow, this group of people this group is growing, and more people are starting to think that this is actually the right way and this is the wrong way. Okay, now I've got that to think about too. There's so many voices competing, and they all will tell you they are so important. I mean, they are so confident. Can you picture any of those voices? Do you have a specific voice that just nags at you and bothers you? Maybe it was one of your parents. That's a popular one. Parents. Oh, my dad always nagged me about this, and he said, this is the right way to do it, son. It's the only way to do it. And you're just freaking out. Someday they're going to come over and visit. Yeah, They're going to visit, and they're going to be like, oh, I got to run around and, make my house look like I live by what Dad always told me to do. You ever have that experience? The in-laws are coming over. Well, my mom's coming. We would just save a lot of trouble and heartache if we just, didn't have these magazines out. And, if I put the third car in the garage and just locked the door, we didn't open the door all weekend, like with a motorcycle. What motorcycle? Do we have a motorcycle? I don't know about any motorcycle. Doesn't that happen? Isn't that real? They're so loud, and there are so many of them. And every single voice that demands permission from you to let it judge you sounds completely confident in itself, doesn't it? It sounds confident. And some of you are literally in a tug of war inside all of the time. And the tug of war is over who gets to judge you. You say, I want it to be Jesus. Jesus is going to be the judge of my life. But them over there, could I just kind of mold my life a little bit about what they think is cool, because I don't want to suffer whatever their opinions are. It's going to make me crazy. Or, I'm not going to be part of the cool club if I don't, just come over this way a little bit. I want to be part of the cool club. How many people are suffering because of that tug of war? And maybe you aren't quite sure where the tug of war is, but I can point to it really quickly. It's wherever you struggle to maintain your principles if you're a believer. Where are you fighting? Where are you fighting to mirror your life after Christ? Is it an appearance thing? Is it a popularity thing? Is it just a fear or an anxiety thing? I mean, where is it? Wherever that is, it's not just a problem that you have. I think you need to diagnose it. The problem is you're giving permission to someone or something to judge you. And when you do that, whoever judges you gets to shape your identity. That's just how it works. You got a problem with running your finances? You're just like, I never could stay in a budget. I always feel like I have to buy a brand new car. I always have to buy a brand new car. Well, if you can afford a brand new car all the time, that's, I'm happy for you, right? Most people can't. And yet most people do it even though, they can't. They do it anyway. What's the problem? What is the tug of war? Are you struggling with what people will think if you don't look to be as well off as other people that you know? Are you concerned that the people from your graduating class have got nicer stuff than you, and if they see your stuff on Facebook, they're like, I knew it wouldn't amount to anything. What is it? There's always a tug of war somewhere. Always. The question is, which voice do you give permission to judge you? And I say it that way because that is exactly what it is. See, there are all those voices out there. There are the loud ones. You know about the loud ones, right? Listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. Then you know what? There are those urgent ones. The urgent ones say, you got to do this right now, or you're going to, regret this for the rest of your life. If you don't have fun during your 20s, you're going to hate your 30s. If you miss out on dating, 58 people from age 20 to 30, you're just going to regret that you didn't get yourself out there and experience everything. I'm like, oh my God. If you survive, who could date like that? I don't know. It just... dating's scary. But listen, who has permission to judge you? Who have you given that permission to? What about the memorable ones? This might even be the hardest one. You have memorable people in your life. Some of them have been very good people. Some of them have been your parents. Some of them have been mentors, Some of them have been teachers or people in the community or whatever. And they've actually been good role models. they've taught you some things about faith, or they've taught you some things about how to, see your place in the world, or how to do a good job, or learn a great skill set that's very helpful in life. And you know what? Your temptation is still to look back to them rather than to God and say, how do I do life? And then, the instant something happens to that person that shows you that they are in fact flawed, it's just like, emergency, emergency, emergency. My identity was like, I'm aligned with, Rich Hardy. Rich Hardy, he's the guy. Me and him, I'm close. I do things like Rich does. I want to learn from Rich. And then something happens to Rich, and I'm like, oh no, who am I now? It's part of the problem with, church scandals. You have some huge mega church, and then the guy happens to be, guess what, a real person, and they did something doofy, and then somebody found out about it, and then the whole thing, and you got all these hurt people out there. I can't believe, my faith is just ruined. I'm like, why is your faith ruined? Was it in Jesus, or was it in that guy? Because, he had some good pointers, but you weren't supposed to mirror him. You're supposed to mirror who you were supposed to be in your Father. It shouldn't ruin you. It shouldn't have that power over your life. Which voices do you give permission to judge you? Your mom and dad? You could have great parents. But will they be the ones to judge you? I hope not. Because they're human. And as much as your mom and dad, or as much as your old teacher, or as much as your college professor, or your neighbor who took you under their wing, as much as those people can be great people, still people. And there's some stuff that they believe it or not, that was actually wrong. They held to it like they were sure. It turns out to be wrong. There are things you believe 100% right now that are completely wrong. Did you know that? You find out later, it's humbling, but who gets the permission to judge you? I hope it's not people. I hope it's not people. And I understand it can be so tempting. I understand it could be so tempting because of the scope of the people, the loudness of the people, the urgency that they're coming at you with all these things you're supposed to believe and change your life around. I struggle with that too. Let me tell you, I've got some voices in there. I've got voices from dead people. I hear dead people. I freely admit that. People I once knew have passed away. I still hear them. And I hear their voices when I'm making decisions. What do they, what would so-and-so think? They'd turn over in their grave. Well, I don't think they're gonna. So, let's move on. You've got voices of people that are in front of you. They won't stop. They're always telling you what they think. You've got the perceived voice of the media telling you what everybody thinks. You've got all of these things. How do you walk through that mixture all the time and pick a place and head for it? And what I'll just share with you what has helped me. It's very simple. It's not rocket science. But the truth is, I ask a question to myself now. And Jesus has helped me with this. And I say to myself, you know what? There are many people who are willing to judge me right now. The question is, which ones will be there later? Which voices will be there later? I got lots of people who would love to come and tell me their opinion of me. Sometimes I listen. Sometimes I don't. Lots of people, you do too. But which of those voices will be there later on? Which of those voices has the actual authority? Which is the actual one who can judge and can judge rightly? Who has all of the facts about your life? Which one will be there later? Which ones actually claim that at the end of your life, they'll be there after it's over? You get in a car accident or something unexpected, and you're sitting there breathing your last breaths. This is serious. Who is saying, when this is over, I'll be there? When you're on the other side of what you're about to pass over, I'm going to meet you there. How many people in your world actually claim that? Nobody. Nobody claims that. I mean, lots of people will say, I'll sell you my opinion. You mold your life around me and what I say is right. But they're not promising really much. I mean, they say, yeah, and then something good will happen for you. You'll like your life better. You'll be happier. You'll have more peace in your life. Really, how long will that last? You know, I mean, let's say I get sick and I'm in a hospital somewhere with terminal cancer, and I've got tubes pumping life juice into me. Okay? I mean, how many of those people are going to say, hey, I'll never leave you or forsake you? Where will they be? How many of those voices have this to say when you're about to pass over? Truly, I tell you today, you will be with me in heaven. Which of the voices will be there when that happens? Any of them? Maybe just one. Think about this. The other voices don't even claim that. You ever buy a car? Maybe you haven't this experience yet. You know, you go to buy a car, maybe it's a new car. Maybe you want to buy a brand new car. You know, great, I guess. Used car, you know, you go there. I mean, every car, I promise you, every car that you look at is a great car. How do I know? Because they're going to tell you, this is a great car for you. And as soon as you start looking at maybe that's a great car. You know what? That could be a great car for you too. Do you have any other cars? Yeah, there's some in the back lot there. I mean, yeah, they're not quite like this. They don't have these features, but they also have incredible gas mileage. That could be a great car for you too. Every car on the lot is a great car. And when I want to go and buy something I'm going to have to deal with for a long, long time, you know what? I want to hear, we're going to stand by this car. If anything, goes wrong, or you're not driving it right, or if you don't know how to maintain it or whatever, we're a call away. You bring it, actually just bring it on down. We'll talk with you. We have the time. You bought the car, you're committed, this is who we are. That's what I want to hear. Take some notes, all of you car salesmen, okay? But the truth, isn't that the truth? And when the people of my life, the voices that are in there, some aren't even aware that they're in there, by the way, because they don't even know me. But when they're telling me, you need to shape your life a little bit more like this, and people will like it better, and more people will approve, I have to ask them, hey, Insta-real person, you're here now. Will I be able to find you in 10 years? When I'm, maybe coming to the end of my life and questioning all of my decisions? I mean, will you be available for a talk then? Hey, big celebrity person with a big mouth, will you be around when I'm close to death, there's nothing more I can do, and my choices can't be reversed? I mean, will you be there to coach me through this process? Well, we don't warranty our work. Jesus does. He's the only voice out there that gives a warranty, a guarantee. This is what he says. I tell you the truth, if anyone keeps my word, this is John 8:51, if anyone keeps my word, he will never see death. He will never see death. Nobody else is making that claim. Except this guy. And regardless of where you are in faith, maybe on a scale of 10, you got like a tenth of a grain of faith, maybe, that God created something. Or whether you're on the total, I know exactly, I believe Jesus was who he said he was, and I believe he was resurrected. I believe he has the authority, like he said, he's going to be the one to judge all the living and the dead, regardless of whoever or wherever they came from. I believe all that great stuff, and I want to be in church, and I want to be connected, regardless of where you are in that scale. The truth is, he's the only one that makes that claim. Not that something good will happen, or you'll regret something or not regret something, but I will go with you, and when you get to the other side, I will meet you there. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So what I recommend for anybody who is struggling with people's approval, with sensitivity to what people are saying, is to force those voices to answer that question. Did I give you permission to judge me? Did I? Did I give you that permission? Do I give you that place in my life? Might not even be a real conversation. You're just talking to an idea. When you say that, do I give you that permission to judge me? If I don't, then it's just Jesus. It's just my Father in heaven. I don't have to worry. I can just be who I believe in my heart I'm supposed to be. I can just believe and not be tortured by this tug of war, like I know I'm supposed to be like this, but then everybody else wants me to be like this. I don't have to have the duality. I can just be who I am made to be more and more as I grow in my relationship with Christ. I can leave the anxiety behind. How many of you would like to leave the anxiety behind? Raise a hand for me. Let me know. Somebody, yeah, you'd like to leave the anxiety behind. Jesus says, you want to leave your concerns and your fears about people's opinions, then this is the way through. Fixate your mirror on Jesus, on the Father. Make everything about the areas of your life about that. Even the areas that you haven't let Him touch yet. You've got anxiety in a certain area, you're fine in others. It's that area that needs the exposure. You've got to turn that over to Him too. If you want your whole identity to be built around your Father in heaven, then you've got to let the whole of your life be exposed to His judgment, His discernment, His coaching. And if that's where you are today, if you're saying there's an area, it's not the whole thing, but it's an area, I'm praying for you this morning, and I want you to pray with me. If you've never even considered this, I'm praying for you this morning. I'm inviting you to pray with me. Even if you think you've got like 88.5%, which would be pretty good. It'd be pretty good if you had 88.5% of your life molded around your Father in heaven and His likeness. I'm telling you, you're in a relationship, and relationships are either growing or they're dying. They're either growing or they're dying. Just like trees. They're either getting bigger or they're on their way out. I'm inviting you to pray this prayer with me this morning. And it goes like this. Father in heaven, Father in heaven, I want my life to be a reflection of You and nobody else. You before any other. God, I know I'm a daughter, I'm a mom, I'm a dad. I know I'm a worker. I know I'm a citizen, I'm an American. God, You teach me. You teach me directly. You show me how to be like You in those places. How do I be like You as a mom? How do I be like You as a soldier? How do I be like You as a kid, or as somebody who's taking care of somebody? How do I be like You in all of those places? I want to commit to You. And God, I pray that when those other voices competing for Your place in my life surface and grumble and garble and make themselves known, God, I pray that by Your Spirit, You will inside me rise up and say, you're going to give them permission? Really? You're going to give them permission to mold your life? You don't even trust them. They don't even claim to do what I've guaranteed to do. God, I pray You would rise up in us and call that into question, not just the weaknesses that we have, but who gets to mold and shape, because it's not just what's weak, it's the voice that we listen to. God, that we would hear it for real. Hear it for what it is. And not be tossed around like rag dolls every day, like so many of us are tempted to do. You make us bulletproof. You lay our identity down on a rock-solid foundation. You are the judge. God, build us to resemble you and no other. In Jesus' name, we pray this. Amen. Amen. I appreciate you listening this morning. I'll be back at the studio. Until next week, behave.